Hello again. Today we're pruning apple trees. I want to show you how it's done. Now, when I first started pruning apple trees, I was incredibly intimidated by it. I was worried that I was going to kill the tree or have no fruit. But actually it's not that bad at all. If you follow just 5 or 6 key principles, you'll be able to turn an overgrown tree like this into this, and this, and this, and this, and this. If you prune an apple tree correctly, it means you get loads more blossom, which means loads more apples and loads more cider. You can eat a few as well if you like. Let me show you how I did it. The first principle with apple pruning is to try to create an open goblet sort of a shape. You don't want branches that are going to be shaded by other branches, because if the leaves don't get sunlight, then they don't get energy and there's no point in being there. Also, then they'll trap moisture, which can then lead to disease. So good airflow is very, very helpful. You can see when I was pruning, I cut a couple of branches from the inside, and that's going to help with this sort of a shape. Principle number 2 is you need to cut away any dead or diseased wood. Unfortunately, this tree had a bit of what's called canker. You can see it here. We'll do a close-up in a moment, but this is a disease caused by a fungus, and it destroys the bark and it eats into the wood. If it goes all the way around the branch, it'll kill the branch and stop water and nutrients flowing, and anything upstream of that will die. It can travel then back down the tree and cause the whole tree to die eventually if it's bad enough. So you need to cut this away as quickly as you can. That branch here had a bit of canker, so it was sort of a killing 2 birds with 1 stone. You can see what the canker is doing to this branch. The bark has become all papery and the wood has become sunken where it's getting destroyed by the fungus. These red dots are actually the fruiting body of the fungus, so it's creating more spores to infect more trees. I think we should chuck it on the fire. That brings me to principle number 3. You need to practice safe secateurs. And by that I mean, whenever you're cutting into diseased wood that has canker or anything else, you need to make sure that you sterilize whatever it is you're cutting with. I'm using some isopropyl alcohol. You can use bleach, you can use Dettol, you can use any sort of disinfectant to make sure you kill any live fungus or any spores that are on the blade. Isopropyl alcohol is it's one of the types of alcohol that's in all the hand sanitizers we've all got used to using, so it's perfectly safe to get on you. I guess we wouldn't want to get bleach all over you, so it's a good option. You can buy it online and you can buy it in the chemists as well, called surgical spirits. So that's canker. Right, so the next key principle is probably the most important one. How do you get fruit? To get fruit, you need flowers. And to get flowers, you need to prune it in the right way. This is the key part. This is what's called a spur flowering or spur fruiting apple. Most of ours are like that, and it's the most common kind of apple. What that means is, this is a spur. This is going to be a flower. So on these little short spurs is where you get the flowers, and of course then you get the fruit. So you need to cut back these branches and these branches to be about 1 inch long or 2.5 centimeters long. It'll then cause it to form this bud over the summer and into the winter. So next spring you'll get the flower. So this will be a flower this year, and this one will be a flower next year. So we'll come along and snip all of these like that, just like so. And these will become next year's flowers and so next year's fruit. This is a good example of what I was just saying. We pruned this tree last year. You can see here where we pruned it and down here, which caused it to create all these new flower buds. So this is a flower bud and all these will be. So this tree should be absolutely dripping with blossom in about a month's time. This branch here on the end, we're going to cut it slightly longer because we want this branch to continue growing a bit further away from the tree so we get more branch and more fruit. So the way you do that, you can control the way your branch is going to grow by choosing a bud facing the direction you want to go and snipping just above that. So there's a little bud you can see just there facing that way. So if I snip it just above that bud, then during the course of the summer it will sprout out that way and extend the length of the branch, and we'll have a longer branch going in this direction. That's all there is to it. This tree is a good example of the goblet shape that I was talking about. It does have a central leader here, but you can see all the branches then come out from the middle, giving each branch its own space and access to light and air, which helps reduce the prevalence of disease. There's 2 branches here, this one and this one, that are in the wrong place. They're badly shaded and they're congesting this area, so I think we should take this one and this one off, down here and down there. When you cut a branch off of a tree, you're not actually trying to cut the branch flush with the trunk. You cut it through what's called the crown. It's the raised area just where the branch meets the main trunk. those cells that are in that area will then grow new bark over the wound and keep the tree safe from future infection. Just like that. Fantastic. That should heal up no problem and be a happy tree. I know it looks like our tree's moldy, but it's not. This is lichen. It's totally harmless to the tree, but it is an indicator of the nice clean air we have here, which we're really grateful for. This is a golden spire apple. It's used for making cider, and it's also a cooking apple. We decided to make a single variety cider with it last year, which is just here. So I thought I would taste it and see if it's any good. Would you like some as well? I don't think doggos drink cider. So I got this tasting straw, I don't know what it's really called, but the idea is you don't then have to tip the whole demijohn over and stir it all up in order to take out a sample, like so. That's really good. Lightly appley flavour. It tastes a bit like a green apple, but not overly sour. I think if we got that a bit fizzy, it would taste absolutely amazing. Well, that's the apples all pruned. Oh, if you're enjoying this, do please press subscribe. That'd be fantastic. All the wood that has canker on, we're now burning in our chimney. The wood that doesn't have canker on, we're saving for using in barbecues and pizza oven. Adds a lovely flavour to the food. So, all we have to do now, sit back, watch the flames, have a glass of 2-year-old homebrewed cider, and a dream of apples. Cheers.